You guys won't believe who sat down with President Trump at the White House straight out of left field.
All right, Bill Maher may be one of President Trump's most vocal critics, but that didn't stop him from getting an invitation to dinner at the White House last night.
So how did it go? Music superstar Kid Rock arranged it all.
Even Bill Maher, Democrat snarky poster boy, can't take the left's bullshit anymore.
Kid Rock was here a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I want you to meet Trump. He said, I'm going to take you to the White House. So now we're going to do that.
I think that's
and like,
a good
there will be
conversation.
lots of people on the left who will be like, how dare you talk to this man? I was like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not playing this game that you mean girls play.
Yes.
Where like, oh, you know what? You can't sit at my lunch table because I'm just not talking to you.
You know, for a party that's supposed to be liberal, the left spends so much effort in imposing their cultural belief systems onto other people while simultaneously claiming nobody else has the right to.
You lost the election. Who the fuck do you think you have to talk to? You know, it's one thing if you win it.
Yeah.
It's another thing if you lose it.
You gotta start
kinda
talking to people.
Have to talk to. And I see Gavin Newsom is doing this now. He's changed his tune. He's got a podcast, and the first guest was Charlie Kirk.
I thought that was,
you know,
brilliant. You
and
have
he mentioned me. He said, like, I'm noticing what Bill does, talks to both sides, like is left-leaning, but not afraid to criticize the people on his team. Like, we got to get more of this going.
They always
This
say that,
has to become the center. This has to become a real center. Right now, it's like it's a few lonely islands that need to like become a bigger fucking sandbar.
Yeah. No, for real. You're right. Like, it needs to be normalized.
I think conservatives on our side of the aisle should be excited about this kind of thing, man. We need a constructive dialogue in order to prevent a power vacuum that allows radical elements from either side of the aisle to try to push the Overton window further towards collectivism.
What happened from start to finish in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, I went on Bill's show, I went on his podcast, and I said, man, you know, nothing happens if people don't break bread together and meet face to face. He's been one of the president's hardest critics, and we came to dinner, me, Bill, Dana White, and it could not have been better. Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, you know, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You know, you've had Biden, Clinton, Obama.
You might not feel like you respect someone in Bill Maher's position for a plethora of reasons, right? And while I can understand that perspective, for the optics, we have to reach out the olive branch, and we have to engage in conversations with people that are willing to engage in conversations with us. Anything constructive, because when we have bipartisan constructive conversations and we promote the values of classical liberalism, they catch on, and we move that Overton window back towards the federalist versus anti-federalist discussion, the corporatist versus populist discussion, the decentralization versus centralization discussion, and that's where we need things to be, rather than this tribal, you know, infighting between all these different groups. And so that's why, regardless of what we think of a Cenk Uygur or a Bill Maher or anyone on the left, really, other than Gavin Newsom, I don't trust his ass. I'm sorry, but Gavin Newsom has a history of policy decisions, passing laws, vetoing laws, all based on how it's going to affect his own personal political career. For example, last year, he had a crime prevention measure rewritten because in its original form, it would have made policies that he'd set up years prior look bad. And him setting policies and then backtracking would not look good for a later presidential run. See, we're gonna have to weed out the snakes in the garden like Gavin Newsom and figure out a way to use them to demonstrate that we are open to conversation without enabling them to create some sort of false image of being a moderate that can represent the center, because that's what corporatists do every single time. They try to claim that they're moderate while giving a nod to progressives and trying to move the Overton window towards collectivism and centralized control every single time. So I think it's great to have Bill Maher go to the White House. I think it's great to have Cenk Uygur come to Turning Point USA events. I think it's awesome to demonstrate, yes, we are the open tent. And people in the center are going to see that. And that only gives our side more credibility when we're also making moves like this.
Elon Musk says he's now focusing on members of Congress who became, quote, strangely wealthy while in Congress.
They'll send the money overseas to one NGO, then it'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned. It doesn't go directly, but let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress. I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year?
See, in my opinion, abortion, gay marriage, all of these cultural issues that they have us fighting and bickering over with each other are to distract from that. That's the point. That's what our conversation should be centered around. And we should be talking about who the corporatists are in our political atmosphere. And if you guys agree, do me a favor, like and subscribe and share the video with someone. And click on one of these video things, man. The algorithm loves it when you click on one of these cards. You guys rock. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one.